Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Bad Times Good Stories podcast. My name is Joe Flanders. I am happy to have you here today, and a lot has changed. A lot has happened since the last episode, following the murder of George Floyd and the hundreds of thousands of people all over the world who have protested peacefully. I really hope that this is the wake-up call that the United States needed, just seeing all of the peaceful protesters all over the country. I'm focusing on that because that is the vast, vast majority of the people who have been out in the streets demanding justice and equality. And that's what I'm going to focus on. So I'm not going to make it about me, but I have done a lot of soul searching and realized how ignorant I've been and uneducated, and how I need to be better. And so, I'm doing a lot of reading and a lot of listening, and that's what I'm going to be doing on today's episode and several more episodes. Today, I'm talking with Shapel Lacey, who is a hilarious comedian and somebody I'm working on a project with right now. He's been on the show previously. The last time he was on, he talked about joining cheerleading, which he was actually quite good at. But he joined really just to woo a girl, and that didn't go over very well. But it ended up being a great experience for him. But today, I asked him to come on because he did a guest blog for a website, 81-23.com, and the post is called "I'm Still Black and No One Can Take That Away From Me." And I asked him if he wanted to come on because I think it had a feeling of hope and being proud to be Black. I want to have more of these types of conversations. And thanks again to Shapel for coming on and letting me ask stupid questions and being patient and embracing that. And if you want to read the blog post before watching or listening, it is just 81-23.com, and you'll see a guest blog link with Shapel Lacey's name. It's a short read, but I think it's an important one and a powerful one. So if you want to have the context before you watch or listen, feel free to do that. 81, just numbers, 81-23.com. Here's my conversation with Shapel Lacey. So welcome back to the show. This is your second appearance.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Yeah.
Yeah, how are you doing?
As best as I can, I think a
Yeah,
lot of us
that's a pretty
are.
loaded question.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start. There's so many places to, different ways to start through this.
Yeah, I know.
Start. I guess we'll start with the COVID stuff first.
Sure.
I guess
Yeah.
intro that. I am, living the COVID life as best as I can. And, luckily I'm one of those people that knows how to adjust to things. And I don't know, I don't really let a lot of big things of that nature kind of distract me from, continuing on with with what I want to do and all that
Sure.
stuff. So that's one of the things I'm learning with all the COVID is just, just fucking, adjust and continue on doing what you've always wanted to do and do it as best as you can. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Still working on doing a lot of the self-work, working on oneself, still doing, just which is the most important thing to me, because that's what keeps me grounded and helps me find my composure and helps me think logically is what all that does. And so that helps me be able to deal with, what we're in the current state. So that's where I'm at right now. It's just, as far as the COVID goes. So
Doing the work.
I guess doing the work. Yes. You never stop working.
What does that look like as far as the sort of self work?
A lot of it is a big part of it is the journaling, the writing, the constant look of like, whenever, I just, like any situation that's thrown at me, I always take it and I dissect it. And, COVID being one of those situations where it's thrown at you, like I always like to dissect and like, I don't know, I feel like when situations are thrown at me, it's always, it's like I always do this like regrouping, if you will.
I will.
Yeah. So that's like what I, basically do with a lot of parts of my life, not just with the COVID stuff, but everything. Like if this situation is thrown at me here, what's the best way for me to react? And that's what a lot of that self-work comes in, and what I work on and what I do just to, have a tight grip on myself,
Right.
Like my sanity is something I'm always curious of. So.
Of course. Yeah. I'd say that's fairly
uh,
important. Sanity.
Yeah.
Is the journaling kind of a way to like externally process everything so that way it doesn't stay internal and then can kind of like drive you crazy?
Yeah. It's where I let out everything, my insecurities, my things that make me angry, things that make me happy, whatever the case may be, things that I'm confused about, why am I confused? Like it's a constant thing of me just always asking questions. I'm always asking questions of myself. Like, how do I need to react? What do I need to do? What's the best way for Shapel Lacey to handle such a thing? Is what I do. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So that seems really healthy.
Yeah, I have to do it. Otherwise, I don't like being crazy. I don't like. I just don't like it. I mean, especially when you've known it, like that's the thing you've known for so long, and then you start to understand a different side. You're just like,
right.
Oh, wow, this is cooler. This is a lot cooler than just fucking being a wreck. So why don't I just stay over here? That's pretty much how all that works for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you kind of alluded to the fact that you, in your blog post on 8123, you kind of alluded to having some anger issues in the past and everything like that. So kind of what you need to do is keep that in check, the right way of phrasing it. I don't know.
Getting. I like to call it getting a grip of it. Like getting a hold of it to where it's for you to have and not everyone else. Like you hold on to that. Don't deliver that to everyone else.
Right. Okay.
Pretty much like my motto when it comes to the anger stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, so I mean, one of the reasons, I mean, we've been working on stuff during this COVID, so I know, we've talked about these issues and everything else, but I wanted to have you on again just to talk about everything that's going on right now with, George Floyd and everything else, because I think rightfully so, a lot of the posts I've been reading and everything else, it's been about, the struggles and the challenges. But I thought that the timing of your blog post, I think the overwhelming thing was that you reached kind of a level of pride with being Black. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you kind of, you've had a journey to get where you are now.
Yeah.
And so, I just wanted to kind of use that as a jumping off point for like why you wrote it, why you felt compelled to, everything else that's, it's on your mind.
Well, it was just the timing of it, because I think like we see these situations constantly, with unarmed Black men, getting killed. And, a lot of times you do see the Black community really standing up and highly upset at all this stuff. And dealing with the struggle I dealt with as far as like the identity issues on the racial level, I've always like I feel for it, and then, but I've always like questioned if I'm even allowed to, like, you know, really stand up and feel for it because of, you know, what I dealt with in my childhood, and, you know, and still to this day, just being told, you know, you're not black, and, you know, you're like, and me always like I was always questioning, like, why isn't my skin tone enough? You know, it was always like these certain things that I, you know, couldn't be or had to be in order to feel a certain way, you know, which was like, you know, like a lot of the struggles, you know, just being black, you know, in America, I always looked at, you know, and I always felt it, but I always felt scared to have that connection to it. You know, like I couldn't fully connect with it because, you know, of the type of music that I listen to, or just the things that I'm interested in, you know, which
they weren't black enough.
Yes, you know, which is what I was always told, which was always like, which was much difficult, you know, especially because I think just everyone in general are trying to find their own identity, or at least, you know, have a, you know, somewhat of an idea at an early age, depending on who you are and what you've discovered. You know, like I've always been so locked into, you know, my musical interests. I've always been so locked into, like, you know, playing the guitar in a way that it's like, you know, very aggressive and loud. And I've just always been, you know, attracted to these things. And those were the things that, like, and you know, even being made fun of for liking these things and all that, like, I couldn't go away from it because those were the only things that were making me happy. Those were the things I felt, you know, comfortable with, because, you know, punk rock music never made me feel bad about being who I was, you know, like it, and so it was like, I wanted nothing more but to hold on to that, you know, and it made me feel like I was this weirdo, or just, you know, different, which is okay to be different, but to be made, to be, for someone to make you feel bad about being different,
Right, belittled,
is a different type of thing to walk through the world with, you know.
right.
And that post, you know, that I wrote was a tough one to write, you know. I don't think I've ever expressed it that fully on a public level, you know. A lot
Right.
of my friends and family weren't aware.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they weren't aware that that's what, you know, a thing that I was dealing with so deep inside. I think a lot of people just weren't aware, you know.
For anyone who hasn't read it, would you mind just kind of, you know, saying what it's about, or, you know, what was the?
So basically, what I wrote was, it was about, you know, basically from the time I could remember, from the time I, you know, picked up a skateboard and a guitar, and, you know, just started listening to, you know, punk rock and heavy metal music. I've always been made fun of for doing that. Like, I wasn't black. I was always told that I wasn't black, because, you know, these things weren't necessarily, you know, not a lot of people in the black community were taking on these things. And I didn't know a lot of black people that were also into the same things that I was. And not only was I getting it, you know, black people were saying it, white people were saying, Mexican people, everybody was saying it across the board, even at home. And, you know, it fucked my world up. It messed me up a lot. It made me question so much of myself, and it made me, you know, I let a lot of people define who I was. I accepted all that they were saying, that I wasn't black, that I, you know, like, I accepted that. And it was, but I always struggled with it, and, like, it was constantly on my mind, because when I look in the mirror, like, you know, I see what everyone else is seeing, as far as, my skin tone goes. So I'm like, how am I not? How am I not? But I guess it's true if that's what they're saying. And it didn't take. And I expressed how it didn't take until I reached out to my biological father, which spent 17 years in prison, and and he had been out. By the time I had reached out to him, I was 29 years old when I reached out to him. I hadn't reached out to him, and he had been out of prison for 10 years, I want to say.
Okay.
So there was 10 years that I didn't, really say anything to him.
Why not?
I had that fear of like, oh, he won't accept like, who I am, because no one else really does that. No one else, was really, taking me serious as a black man. And
you just didn't want to face that like rejection of him not accepting
yeah,
you
I
too?
just didn't want to face that. And so it was just like, like that's I just took it as like, oh, that's not my world. But something in my gut just kept saying like, go do it, go do it, go do it. And I think a lot of it had to do with, my brother passing away. I think that was like something that like, pushed me to go and jump into this world. So with me reaching out to him, I mean, he was more excited and he was there with open arms. And like he just immediately just started just dropping so much knowledge on me as far as where this side of the family comes from, like, and just this history and with his acceptance, like it wasn't that he necessarily said, I accept you.
Sure.
It's just what he was delivering to me, what he was telling me, what he was showing me was like, hey, this is where you're from. You're a part of this. And that was something I never felt, So now I was able to get on this journey of discovering more and not feeling this guilt. No longer. I became now I'm bored of the guilt. Like I decided to no longer feel bad that I listened to punk rock music. I'm bored of feeling bad about that stuff. It
Right.
doesn't like, and basically what I was saying, like that doesn't take away, like I'm still black, I'm still a black man. Like no one can take that away from me. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad because, like I've dealt with situations, with authority figures. I've dealt with, situations the same way. Just because I listen to this music doesn't mean, I don't think that I'm going to get a free pass. I don't think that it's not going to happen to me,
Right.
and I don't know. I just got to this point to where I was just like, I no longer feel bad about that because my father's acceptance was one of the biggest things I could have ever gotten. Like I'm his son. That's my father. And now I have the confidence and feel okay with being who I am, and when I, when I was, concluding that blog, I closed with basically saying like, to people to jump into a world that you've never known. Stop. I watch so many people on a regular basis, people that think they know, people that want to run away, and people that just let themselves be confused about it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is when a person is like that, it's such a disrespect to themselves.
Right.
It's such a disrespect. Like I like one of my biggest things that I've been living by is go beyond the textbook.
Mm-hmm.
Go beyond the textbook.
Yeah.
The textbook is very basic when you really think about it. It's the most basic, and it's nothing. It doesn't do the service. It doesn't. you have to know more. You have to, and I think a lot about that with Black history. There's a lot of things that like a lot of people don't necessarily know. And
me being one of them.
And that's fair. Like it's fair across the board because, I didn't either. Like, and I'm not the only Black person that isn't getting the knowledge of Black history. Like I'm not the only one. And that's because I think across the board, everything has to do with this lack of education.
Yeah.
What's being taught in the schools, what's being taught isn't necessarily, you're only getting certain things. You're not getting the full story.
Exactly.
And a lot of times, like, especially when you talk about Black history, people only really know MLK, or Malcolm X, or,
and I've been doing a lot of reflecting in the last, couple of weeks about how uneducated I am. And what I realized was like, I basically had like, I know buzzwords, keywords. I know the Harlem Renaissance. I know Booker T. Washington. George Washington Carver. But, I don't know. And I've actually, this is the beginning of an education that should have started a long time ago. But like, I read White Rage by Dr. Carol Anderson, and now I'm currently reading So You Want to Talk About Race. And it's just been, and I don't want this to turn into the white guy saying, I had no idea what's been going on. I didn't.
Yeah, and that's fair to say, because I'm one of those people, I'm willing to have the dialogue. Like I don't mind the quote unquote dumb questions, if you will. I don't mind. I don't mind that. I don't mind to have the conversation because it pushes us, in this forward motion. It pushes us to where it's like, oh, okay, now we're starting to collect. And I don't like it is expected because like and it's a big blame on the educational system. When you look at it and what it's taught, and it's like, you've given Black history a month.
Right.
And, you can't teach it all in a month. It has to be this thing that's, just constantly there. It
needs to be integrated into American history that's taught throughout the year.
Yes, it has to be because, that's what stops a lot of what's going on right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I can't tell you how many times and how much I know on World War II.
Right.
World War I. Like there's so much of that, but like to really know, Black history, it just has to be. It has to be all the way through. It has to be the year round. It has to be, part of this. Like it just has to be there.
It needs to be you learn about the Tuskegee Airmen, but then you also need to know that when they came home after the war, they couldn't vote in the South. Exactly. They legally might have been able to. Yeah. But no, I mean, again, I'm in around this. But, there was all the poll taxes and all this other crap that they had to deal with. The point being, we need to learn the whole experience, not just the fact that, oh, yeah, they were the Tuskegee Airmen and they flew planes.
And that's the thing with like, and it's not just, white kids that are not getting this information, but also Black kids, to think like, for me to go through what I went through, I don't blame any specific individual for that. I'm not mad at anyone for that. And I don't, and when I wrote, that blog, I didn't write it in an ill will type of way because, when I look at the big picture, it is it's an educational thing. It's the whole, people just don't know. People just don't know because, the information is just not easily out there. It's not. There's so many documentaries, there's so many, great books, to read and like you have to see it. Like you can't like, and some people are uncomfortable to really, jump into that world. I was uncomfortable to jump in the world to talk to my father. It's uncomfortable. But what you're doing is you're doing a service for yourself. And for you to do a service for yourself, you're able to do this service for others.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of my friends, white friends, reach out to me and just, come to this understanding and be able to be vulnerable and express to me how much they didn't know, and they feel embarrassed.
Yeah, it's me.
And it's fair. It's fair to feel that, and it's fair, to reach out to me because, I'm not gonna push them away, because obviously it's like, holy shit, like, I respect Shapel Lacey. I've known this guy for years, and I didn't put the connection with him in these issues, and to see what he goes through. I just think people just didn't connect it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was the thing. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I've gotten ruled out a lot with, being black. It's almost to where people just don't. Yeah. They're just, oh yeah, he's not black. Based off of, but like, it's like my skin just got overlooked.
Right.
Right. Like I just wasn't, anything of that nature. I'm like, I am, like it is me, and it's okay to understand that is me, and it's okay to say that, it's okay. Like it's and when people say, like, people think they're doing something correct when they say they don't see color, and it's like, you have to, because when you don't see color, then you're not understanding what's going on.
And that, I think, is the biggest thing. And that, like, I realized that, like, when you were on the show previously, we talked about you joining cheerleading to basically woo a girl, and, it didn't work out and all that. And we kind of, danced around some of the racial issues, but I didn't follow up with you because, while I always thought it's important to have a diverse group of people on my podcast, and I have, and my whole thing was like, what I told myself was like, oh, I don't want to address the race because I want the show to be about what unifies us. And we've all had awkward dates and done this and that. And that's true. But in kind of reflecting over the last couple of weeks, I've realized that, like, I didn't want to talk about it because it makes me uncomfortable,
Yeah, and that's fair to say.
But it's, but I need to talk about it, because if not, like you're saying, it's, I've had the luxury of being able to choose when I want to acknowledge race, and that's a privilege. And I think that that's what, that is a buzzword that I think a lot of people get defensive over, like white privilege or whatever else. And my understanding is I'm, beginning, again, I'm late to the education, but, it's not discrediting anything that you've been through, but it's acknowledging that there's a lot of things you didn't have to go through. And so anyway, I did want to say that was, obviously we've been interacting a fair amount anyway, because we're working on something, but I wanted to reach out because of the line in your blog that said, take the leap like I did into a world you never fully known and gain the knowledge. And so that's what,
and I don't make fun of people for that. Like, I'm not going to make fun of someone for watching a documentary on Malcolm X, or looking up Angela Davis, or, looking up the Black Panthers. I'm not going to make fun of people for that, because it's like, you got to see, you got to understand it. You know what I mean? Like, and because it only gives you, like, when you understand that, you get more of an understanding of me, someone that you consider a friend and respect. That's what that does.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, that's what I'm trying to do. And it does, I think it's too damn bad that it took, these last 3 major events, in Georgia and in New York City, and now in Minnesota, for that to finally take the wool out from under my eyes and truly acknowledge that there is, I knew it, intellectually, but I just never really thought about it. And so
Yeah.
You know,
Which is, I mean, yeah, like, and because it is uncomfortable, and a lot of people get weird about being uncomfortable,
yeah.
you know, and
And
it's
and
like,
lastly, I didn't ask you to come on to just tell me it's okay that I've been ignorant for the last
no,
32
no, no,
years.
no, I know.
But I'm just letting you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no.
Because, you know, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of different, I can understand why, you know, a black friend would be frustrated if it's, you know, I understand the idea that, like, I think we need to do the education at the same time that we're having these conversations.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, it must be frustrating, or, you know, and I'm only asking, you know, speak for yourself,
Yeah.
but that it does take something like the last month that we've dealt with, to open people's eyes. I mean, is part of it like finally now people are seeing, or,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And like, like, like I have to, like, I can't get like angry. Like I feel anger, but like I can't, like, I have to like slow everything down, because if it, like, I don't release the, like, the correct and right things whenever whenever I don't have composure. So like that's why, like, I don't get mad at the questions. I don't get mad that people are now, just because I want to be able to go about things logically, and I also want to keep my sanity, you know,
Yeah.
levels
Yeah.
correct. So that's why I'm like, well, I gotta be okay with having the conversations, and I'm totally okay with that, you know, and it's it's wild, it's completely wild, but it makes so much sense, you know, like you go back and you watch certain films and certain you know, interviews uh, from back in the day, and what we're dealing with right now, you it's connecting. It's like, oh shit, that was literally the same. How the fuck are we here? That's literally the
Right.
same thing that they were talking about right here. You know,
Right.
and what's beautiful is that it's a fight that's never been given up on. You know, and like, because you can't, like, um, you can't just kill it off. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's always going to exist. Like, no matter what, it's always going to exist. It's always going to be there. So why not take the time to get the education? Why not take the time to have the dialogue, have the conversations? What is wrong with that? What is wrong with, like, you know, it's I like, and whatever, you know, and it comes from generations of generations of generations, and it's like, go beyond, like, people should not have the fear of, you know, thinking differently than what their parents taught them.
Right.
And I think a lot of people either have that fear, or they just think, because their parents told them it's correct, and which is also never, like, the case. I'm almost, in a sense, blessed with the situation that I went in, you know, that I dealt with all my life, because I'm able, I have a story to tell, you know, and it's relevant, you know, to current things. You know, it's very relevant, and it's you know, I think yeah, that all that happened to me for a reason, you know, to be able, because here I am today, being able to speak about it and be able to, you know, I don't think I would have been able to write that if I didn't, you know, read books or educate myself as well. There's no way I would have been able to write something as well thought out as I did. You know what I mean?
And beyond even writing that, I think also the ability to turn your experiences into laughter, into comedy and
Yeah,
jokes. You
yeah,
know, I mean,
uh-huh.
you have a clip that's, you know, on Comedy Central that talks about basically just being surrounded by white people in
Yeah,
Arizona.
yeah,
So maybe we could kind of just dive deeper into the context of the blog post you wrote. So yeah, you were in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, Arizona, like Mesa, Gilbert.
Oh, Mesa. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And so, when people were telling you that like you weren't black, who was that? Was that white kids or black kids and both, or adults and kids? Like,
Yeah, it was everybody. Like I don't remember hearing it much like from like teachers or anything like that. Like I don't think they would have. None of my teachers. They just told me, I don't know, the shit that I wanted to do wasn't, gonna,
realistic.
yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that, these fucking, whatever, blah blah blah.
Right.
But it was just like these people that were my same age, these people that I'm surrounded by, that I'm supposed to be in these groups with. Like I'm in this classroom with these people. I'm in, like I'm at lunch with these people. Like, I'm on the bus with these people. Like everywhere I go, I'm, wherever I was, it was just constantly there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a constant reminder of like, I don't know, like it just, where you have no choice but you have a choice, but if you're not really conscious and educated enough, like I think I would have been able to handle all that stuff if if I was taught at home that it's okay to be who I am.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that didn't happen.
And that did not happen. And so when it's constantly just thrown at you, I mean, what else are you gonna do? Especially if it's just been that way since you were a kid, since your early age.
Right. Now, how old were you? What was that?
Go ahead.
How old were you when your dad went to jail?
That I don't remember, because he was never. I don't even know. I know. I think probably shortly after.
I guess he was in there for 17 years, and so you were probably like 2, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I can't fully remember, because like it was like, because I didn't know I had a biological father until I was in like the 4th grade.
So you thought your stepdad was your dad?
No, I just didn't think I had one.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think he was my dad. I knew he wasn't, because I didn't call him dad or anything like that.
Yeah.
I called him by his first name. But so other than that, I just didn't think there was any. So I just didn't think it existed. So then, like, I was okay with that. So it just kind of like, was not in my brain.
Right.
Because it's like, it's I put a stamp on it.
Sure.
That's what that is.
Right. Yeah. So how did everything that you're kind of talking about manifest itself into like having, anger issues, and, how did it manifest itself, all the sort of anger that came?
The anger comes from so many worlds, but a lot of it stems from like the violent upbringing that I had, which, I was mad about that. And then I was mad about, how people would talk to me. I was mad, like everything became a trigger for me. Everything. Anytime anyone said anything, it was just, I just wanted to, only way I knew to react, and what I thought was the most logical way to react, was with violence. So that's all I knew. So it was honestly became, almost like second nature. It was just like, that's what I know is violence.
Right.
And, I want to, like, it took me to the second time of anger management to realize that me reacting with violence wasn't the correct way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, sorry.
No, and just that there was other ways to, like, go about it.
Sure. Yeah. So was it Was there a lot of fights and stuff like that? I mean, is that how the violence showed itself, or was it more like yelling and screaming, or all of the
Oh
above?
yeah, like it was always like a fight. That's I wanted
Yeah.
to like hurt because it was just like it was like just like that, just fucking boom.
Yeah.
No, literally just like something said, boom, react.
Now, did you would people ever say like, "Oh, just another angry black man," or any of that shit? Because there's that whole
No, because
cliche.
they didn't even consider me black.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So like I never really heard that. Like I never got to, or at least no one ever said it to me. I actually never,
Well, because I even brought that up because it's I think that's like there was that video that went viral with like the black family at Disneyland that got into that whole skirmish. I don't know if you saw that.
yeah.
But it's like, cliches and bigotry and stuff is so poisonous because that one thing to many people solidified that cliche, instead of there's no videos going viral of just a black family walking around having a nice time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that goes back deep back into history as far as like from the earliest times of when of like film when they were doing blackface and the way they portrayed a black person, especially a black male, was that he was this angry evil type thing,
right?
So like that, and that's kind of just been the the line through all the way to current date, which is never, which a lot of times isn't the case, but like, it's that's why it's so quick for people to react or have that fear, and that's because of the through line that's been there,
It's so deeply like seated into just culture.
Yes.
Even though it's pretty baseless and everybody gets angry. It doesn't matter what fucking color you are.
Exactly. And that's the, like, everyone gets fucking angry. That's the thing about like all of us as human beings. We all have a lot of the same emotions. We do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's just wild that like, what, the stigma that's been created of a black person, and it's and when people question that, like, that, oh, you're just saying that or anything like that, I don't get mad at those people because I know they don't know what I know. They haven't looked at the history. They haven't looked back at it. They haven't taken a step back. So
right.
you're going off this like, what was told to them and what they were told, like, this is how it is, this is correct.
Right. Or they're basing it on their experiences, which, they're oblivious to some, I'm oblivious to so much.
Yeah, exactly. And that's literally all you have to do is just look back. Just look back and go and study. You're going to do so much wonders for yourself. Like you go, like learning is one of my favorite things. Learning is my favorite thing. I love sitting down and being thrown something. I love something that confuses me because now I need to dig. Now I need to figure something out. Now there's a story. Now there's something, because like it's like, whoa, how did it get here? Whoa. Now I get to jump into this world. Now I get to have fun. Now I get to build this knowledge. And now, and like literally all the knowledge that I go and dig and find out, all it does is it helps me with my art. It helps me with what I do. And the thing is, it's not just going to help someone, like it's not going to help only artists.
No.
It could help a manager at a fucking, you know, store or something like that. It can
Right.
help people in so many different worlds. Now you have this understanding. Now,
Right. I think it creates like empathy, or, you know, at least understanding, or,
yeah,
okay, I'm not going to scoff when you said, hey, that was kind of racist what you said over there, because it was. And
yeah,
it's not, I think people get defensive and it's like, oh, I'm not racist. It's like, well,
yeah,
maybe not. And, you know, I've had those thoughts too.
yeah,
And, you know, but then you go back and it's like, okay, maybe you in your heart don't have hate, but the way that you phrase that, or you're not taking into consideration these things that to you are minor offenses, but that's the one minor offense that day, instead of each day you have minor offenses. Each day
yeah,
you have things that pile up. And, you know, I mean,
yeah,
I don't need to tell you that, but that's what I'm kind of realizing, is
yeah,
that it's never about, it's not generally, from what I can gather, it's not about the one incident. It's about the 50 other things that happened that week, the
yeah.
microaggressions, you know?
Yes, yes, and like I said, man, like that's literally where it comes from. It's just people not being aware, people not knowing. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and I tell people this. It's literally easier than math. It's easier than to do the research and the study and to gain the knowledge on, you know, these types of things is so easy. It's easier than fucking math. It's easier than most things that, you know, that you'll fucking do.
Right. Yeah.
All you
Yeah.
have to do, the things you have to do is just look and listen. Just listen. You know, just come to an understanding. Like go in there without, like, when you learn, you gotta clear out the emotions. You know, you got to clear out your opinions and your emotions. So you got to go, okay, let me put these right here real fast and see if I need them, like as I'm going down this road. And you find out it's like, oh shit, I don't really need those. That's not, yeah, those don't really help me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like literally what we're going through today. Like it's fucking wild. It's just wild, you know, that it just keeps happening and keeps happening. But, you know, what I've seen differently this time around, you know, is a lot of people reaching out to me. Is a lot of people, you know, wanting to understand and wanting to know. You know what I mean? That's the thing that's like happening now that I think is really it's beautiful. It's like, okay, here's a slide. Let's keep going. Let's keep
Yes.
going. Whenever people reach out to me, I say thank you. I give them thanks because, you know, here's the thing. I don't know if they're just doing it because it's trending, and I don't know if they're doing it because they really want to do it. Well, all I know is that if I give them that thanks, it's gonna want them to keep going. You know what I mean? Like in the way I give my thanks, it's more than just like thank you for that. It's I thank them in a way, you know, that's very thorough and has something to do relate to my relationship with that person. And when you combine all that, it gives them something to lock into. It gives them something to go, oh, I can hold on to this forever. And whenever situations do occur, they'll think back to that thanks, that specific thanks that I gave them. They'll
Right.
think back to it. They'll think back to having the conversation. They'll think back to so much, you know, and they'll think back to wanting to know so much more, you know,
What?
like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, why do you think this time, of the many times it's happened, that finally people are starting to listen and realize what's going on?
Because, I mean, listen to the helicopters and the sirens outside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's for a reason. That you know, listen to all that. It's for a reason. You know, people like to the fact that the world is starting to stand up and walk these streets and protest. It's saying something. You know, it's like, whoa, this is way, it's big, and what it's like everyone knows, because the thing is like you can't deny what happened to George Floyd.
Right.
You can't deny, you see it firsthand. You see a man a man whose hands are behind his back, handcuffed, and you see a knee on his neck for 9 minutes.
Right.
You know exactly what that is. You can't justify that. You can't argue that because it's right there, right in front of you. You know, and it's making a lot of people feel some way. It makes you feel icky. It's like, oh shit, you know, and I think that's what really opened up so many people's eyes. It's like, holy shit, like he had no way to defend himself. His hands were behind his back. Why the knee? Why the knee? That's what everyone's asking. That's what's why, wait, there's other cops. Why did they tell him to get that knee off? Tell him to remove the knee, you know, like that's what people are saying when they see that video.
It's so clear cut, as opposed, there's no out, the video starts right as the bad thing happens, so they can, well, what happened before? It's all there.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the amazing thing is that, I mean, amazing is what, you know, but the fact that it does roll uninterrupted the entire time.
Yeah.
It's one clip that just shows it all.
Yeah.
You know, sadly, I think it did take something like that because there wasn't, I mean, there's been other video footage, but there's always somehow an out. You know, what happened right before it went on, or he was running, or he was lunging, or whatever. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a legitimate excuse, but it gave people an out.
Yeah.
And now this time there wasn't that out.
Yeah, because what we're basically saying is like no one's life or death should be determined right there.
Right.
No one's life, no one's, you know, whether they should be living or not should be determined right there. You know, the job was to, if he was, you know, if it was something, to bring him in. Right. To bring him in. That was the job, to bring these men in. It's not to, you know, like that amount of aggression.
Yeah.
You know, especially when a crime is like non-violent, you know, it's like that's a lot of aggression for non-violent.
For a fake $20 bill.
For a fake $20 bill, for like that's aggressive.
Yeah.
To feel the need, like this is how I need to deal with this. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, then it goes back to like what is being taught. What is being taught? To think that that's okay, it's like what is being taught. You know,
right.
That's I root back that to everything. What is being taught right now? Where's the education? You know what I mean? It's in you know, I have a lot of friends that are cops, some good buddies of mine that are great fucking people. You know what I mean? And it puts you in this world to where it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what? Like it just puts you in a fucked up world, and that's when the anger comes in, and then, you know, I want to react in a way. I want to, you know, but I know for me personally, my best way for me to react is when I do have composure, and is when I do, you know, really come down to a grounded levels when I feel like I'm at my best, and which is what I always want to be at. So, you know, the questions come in, the questioning, you know, it's just so much, you know, and what's beautiful now is that Black people aren't the only person with these questions. You know, we're not the only ones that are asking why did you need to do that? Why was that correct? Why are these men arrested? Why aren't that's the, you know, that's the beauty of what's going on right now. And you know, one can hope that that the people are joining in, it is authentic, you know, and if you want to keep it going, I think just showing the thank you, you know, is a big move forward, because, you know, yeah, maybe some people are doing it because they do feel it, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And they're not even looking for a thank you. But when you hear it, it's like, whoa, it kind of hits you in a way to like, it gives you this reassurance that you weren't necessarily looking for, but the good that you're doing is not going unnoticed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's one of my dumb questions.
No, dude, ask anything. Ask, yeah.
I appreciate it. So, when, as someone, I can't remember the way you put it, but to kind of contain the anger, how did you phrase it?
Getting a grip.
Yeah, getting a grip on it. Right. So, how do you, is it just through journaling when you do sort of deal with, what are sort of the microaggressions that happen on a daily basis that at this point you're able to shrug off? Just anything that, is it the stuff of, noticing that you're being followed around when you go to a store? Is it the kind of, what are those things that as a black man that you have to deal with?
Man, I guess I'll tell this story. So there's one time, I just got done having dinner with a friend. This is back home in Arizona. And after we were done eating dinner, it was probably like 9 o'clock at night. I wanted to deposit. I had a bunch of cash on me from valet, and I wanted to deposit that cash into my bank. And so I had asked my friend if we could, pull up to, the ATM just so I could deposit. And she pulls up to the drive-through ATM at Chase. And, instead of just like giving her all the cash and the information, I just walked up to the booth and just started depositing it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, as I was finished, a cop pulls up. Female officer pulls up, and I just looked at her and smiled, and she kind of like nodded, like in a like a
authoritative kind of.
Yeah. And then she goes, she gets out of the car. She goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I just got done depositing cash into my bank." And she was like, "Is the bank card in your hand yours?" And I said, "Yeah, it is mine." And then she was like, "Wait right there." And then I was like, "Okay, I know I didn't do anything wrong, so I didn't have like this fear." Then she comes up and she goes, "You look sketch. You look like you're performing a robbery." And I was like, "Excuse me?" She was like, she goes, "I've been watching you for the past 20 minutes. And I hadn't, and the thing is, I had not been there for 20 minutes to deposit some cash.
Mm-hmm.
It does not take 20 minutes.
No.
There's just no way.
No.
Like, you might have some bills like, come out, this bill wasn't read.
You would have to drop all of the money and then have the wind blow it away for it to take 20 minutes.
Exactly.
To do that.
20, like there's no way. And I wasn't going to argue that because she wanted that. And the thing was, like, she just kept saying, "I look sketch. You look sketch. What are you doing? You look sketch. You look like you're performing a robbery." And like, I'm like, "Okay, when are you going to ask for my information?"
Yeah, let's get to that part of this.
When are you going to ask for my information? And she never did. She didn't ask to see the bank card in my hand. She didn't ask for my ID. She just put this label on me immediately. She just put sketch, robbery. And I've been watching you for 20 minutes. And then she was like, when she couldn't necessarily get like I wasn't going to argue these things that she was saying because she wanted the argument. She wanted the, and I'm sitting here like what? So then she was like, "Well, I need to see if the girl in the car is safe." So she goes up to my friend and was like, "Are you okay?" And then my friend, was like, yeah. She goes, "Do you know him?" She's like, "Yeah, he's my friend. Like, he just told you everything that you needed to know. Like, why are you harassing him?" you know,
Mhm.
and once she saw my friend get, white, she was white, once she saw her, starting, raise her voice, get this tone, she like, almost felt dumb and like, backed off and didn't even say like, I'm sorry or anything like that. Just said, have a good night. And then, she took off.
Yeah.
Like to sit there and just be labeled as something. And when you have the opportunity to ask me questions, you have the opportunity right here to ask me my information, to realize that I live in this neighborhood, to realize that, everything about me is correct and that you're off.
Mhm.
Literally had the opportunity to do so, and that didn't happen. That was never,
So was she just waiting, looking for you to give her a reason that she could be forceful? I mean, I know you don't
and
know.
I knew I felt it because one, she was walking up, hand on the hip, blah blah blah, and yes, at that point you're scared. It's terrifying. My heart was racing.
Mhm.
Like I shouldn't have to. I was like, I shouldn't have to feel like this. I was like, I deposited cash, and I'm telling her that. I'm literally telling you what I'm doing. I'm giving you all the information. Ask me something. Keep asking questions. Get to know this guy that you're accusing of something. Jump into the world that you don't
Right.
fully know.
Right. Yeah.
Like literally, you have the opportunity to do so. I'm being calm. My hands are right where you can see them. I did not move my hands at it like this position. I didn't move. I didn't move them. Even when she was talking to my friend in the car, I did not move my hands. I kept them there. And like there's the 20-minute thing is when I knew something was super off.
Right.
But there's no way. There's no way. There was just no way that I'm like, this can't be right. This can't be like this can't I'm like, she literally can't think this. She literally can't believe that or expect me to believe that she'd been watching me for 20 minutes. But I wasn't gonna argue. I wasn't gonna argue that. There's these as much as I wanted to, why are you calling me a sketch? I was like, you know what? And I shouldn't even have to be able to back down from that.
No.
But I was scared of what could have happened.
Right. And so at what age, at what point in your life did you know that that is what you have to do, that you can't get argumentative? You have to stay, how did you know to do that in that situation? Had there already been other situations that,
Yeah, there was a time.
I'm not, look, I don't want you to just dive into all these terrible
No,
things.
no.
But,
You're totally good. But the specific time that I remembered it was when a buddy and I had got stopped. We were riding bikes and just riding bikes, and we got stopped. And my buddy, he had been to jail prior, blah blah blah. Like he, has dealt with cops. He goes, "Be cool. Don't argue anything. Let me do the talk. Let me try to help us out or whatever." And he goes, they're gonna be mean to us, but keep your cool. I was like, okay. So they walk up, and literally, he was so right. They just started being rude to us, even making fun of my clothes, like the way I was dressed.
And how old were you at that point?
I was
ish
20 or 21 at the time.
Okay.
20 or 21. And literally the cop was just like, your mom let you out of the house wearing that? Why are you wearing that? And I'm like, oh, it's what I like to wear. That's weird. Why?
Yeah.
It's just, it's just my style, officer. And that's when I, my buddy, that specific experience, is what my buddy like expressed to me, and that I never forgot that. I never forgot about like, oh, this is how I need to keep it. Like, just don't argue it. And it sucks, because like that shouldn't have to be the case. That shouldn't have to, and that's what it was.
What was the rationale they used for even, pulling you over or talking to you in the first place?
It was something happening in the area. One of those, like, we were just checking because, we heard this is going on in the area, blah, blah, which is like, okay, you kind of have to take it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I don't know. It was just one of those situations where, if it wasn't for my buddy, like, expressing that, like, and me keeping that information, like, I think that's what helped me deal with that, situation at the bank.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for having the conversation with me.
Yeah.
I did want to ask, so how did, you are a successful traveling comedian.
Yeah.
So, maybe just talk about the process of taking a lot of, traumatic experiences and being able to find the funny in that.
I found my peace with the situations. And I think with me finding my peace with the situations, I was able, like, it let me let it out on stage. You know what I mean? Because I found my peace. And I think when I talk to the crowd about it, I think they also realize it, because there's a way to talk about it, and there's a way to deliver it where you really see it. Because there's some people that will try to talk about some, like, certain tragic moments, and you could tell it's like, oh, like, it makes people feel weird because they still haven't dealt with it.
Right, they haven't processed it.
They haven't come to their peace with it. And I think that's the thing, is when you come to your peace with some of the situations, because what you realize, oh, I'm no longer in that situation anymore. I'm no longer, in this abusive childhood anymore. And, so now I like, it's for me to have. It's for me to tell my story and do what I want to do with it, and that's how I've been able to, like, do it. So,
yeah, and that totally makes sense, particularly with, like, the traumatic childhood and stuff. But how about, like, whether it's the banks, and I'm not saying you specifically talk about the bank story or, the bank incident that happened or anything like that, but something that, okay. But, processing something, it'll come out. Yeah, good. I'm sure there's some good material in there. But processing stuff like that can happen again, that could happen tomorrow. How do you find the funny in sort of those day-to-day things that could happen because of the color of your skin any day? How do you process that?
Some of those situations, like, you almost become, in a sense of content, or just like, oh, I expect this.
Right.
And so when it's like, yeah, like, I expect this, and it's like, you've gone through this and you know how to deal with it, and, like, you're at this age, like, to where what's up. Like, the thing that, like, my abusive stepfather can't come after me anymore.
Right.
He just can't. No. So it's like, what is he gonna do? But, like, other situations, yeah, it is a little bit more difficult. And in that moment, you're feeling the that, like, and as an artist, you do got to go home and process that and figure out what you want to do with it. And how you want to deliver it. How do I find my peace for this situation? How do I find my, like, composure to be able to express something that's so real and so right there and let the world know. You know, that's where, you know, the digging comes in.
Perfect. Yeah. And I would, you know, I think it kind of hit me as you were saying that, you know, I just think of something, and I'll let you go here in a minute, but, you know, I was just thinking about, as you were saying that, you know, the Dave Chappelle special, when he's talking about the baby that's selling crack in the neighborhood in Baltimore, or DC. And, you know, as just an oblivious teenager that I was, that was just purely funny. There was no, this was a fantasy. You know, this was some silly made up joke world, but that is based on truth, you know,
Yeah.
not specifically a baby, but, you know, like that whole experience was happening. And, you know, I think it's the power of comedians to be able to take a pretty, you know, situations like that and find the funny. It's, you know, commendable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot, like it, and the reason why we do it is because we really feel something with it. And there's this feel, this connection that you're hugging, and it makes you, want to release it or deliver it, you know.
Well, from what you told me, you're going to be getting to be doing some comedy live soon, right? You're gonna be back on the road.
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
You excited?
The hometown of Arizona.
Oh yeah? Oh cool.
Yeah. I'm excited because I mean, like, there's something about being on stage where I just feel so 100%. You know, I'm not portraying a character; it's literally my world, and that's like what I'm really. Yeah, I just love doing that. I love, you know, it's exciting.
Have you thought about how you're going to address everything that's happening right now?
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about it. Yeah.
Naturally,
yeah. You know, I've been thinking about it. Like I have it since, you know, and I'm one of those people that, like, once I'm there, like, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like
I look forward to.
Like, that could possibly work. That could possibly work. And then all of a sudden I get there and I go, this is what it is.
Well, hopefully you can perform live in LA sooner than later, so I can see for myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for
thanks for having me.
Doing this.
Wanting to have the conversation.
Of course. I mean, that's, you know, I can read all the books in the world, but I need to actually, you know, we need to have conversations, you know.
Yeah. That's
like you said.
Nothing wrong with conversation.
No. So you know, I'll probably talk to you in like 3 days on this script we're working on.
Yeah.
But I will do it with a newfound understanding and respect for you. So,
yeah, no, it's beautiful. I appreciate that. So.
Yeah. Where can people find you on the social media?
I do everything on Instagram. I'm not a Twitter heavy or Facebook heavy. Yeah, Instagram's fine.
At Shapel Lacey?
Yeah, at Shapel Lacey.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one, Joe.
Yeah, dude. You too. That was the episode. Thank you to Shapel for coming on and talking about that and embracing my stupid questions. I think that conversations like this are just important, and I'm looking forward to continuing them with other comedians and people that I know in the coming weeks. Just in the goal of being better. So I hope you'll join me next week. And until next week, keep laughing and keep striving to be better.